Because the same thing is true in finances, right? If you help people get what they want, you can have whatever you want.
From Reminder Media, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Stake, and Reminder Media's president, Luke Akery. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid.
Yes.
How are we doing today?
Dude, we're doing fantastic. I had an unbelievable coaching call with Anna.
Yes,
today.
the winner of our Stay Paid
contest. And, you know, it just got me fired up. And one of the things that I was telling her that I think so many people fall down in marketing when it comes to this is that, man, there is just no magic bullet. And I was telling her that with your email marketing or with your mailing through the, direct mail or whatever it is, don't get disappointed if your open rates aren't exactly where you want them to be, because if someone would have figured out the perfect email to send, we'd all be sending it right now. And then guess what? It would not be perfect anymore. So literally I was explaining to her, and I could tell there was like the epiphany going off, or at least I felt it was, the epiphany going off on her side of just like, why am I thinking of marketing and the products that I buy through a lens of I'm searching for the actual right thing to, from a magic formula standpoint, instead of just thinking about it in terms of, hey, it's holistic. How many times can I get in front of people? And I explained to her, Tom Ferry, we had him on the podcast, right?
Yep.
And he talks about consistency. When you're consistently in front of people with marketing and events and things that you're doing, it breeds this familiarity. So it makes you familiar to people.
Yeah.
And that familiarity is what ends up breeding trust. And trust is what makes people actually want to use you. And so I was telling her everything you do that we're helping her with, the magazines, the emails, all these things, we're trying to get you into this position of trust so your friends and family think of you. So it's got me excited. You can tell. It's got me excited. I wanted to keep going on the phone call. I was scheduled for half hour, 45 minutes in. I'm like, I better let you go, Anna.
No, that's amazing. And we have an amazing guest here today with us. His name is, with us.
Yeah, with us.
I don't know why that's
virtually with us.
Virtually with us. Yeah.
Yes.
His name is Adam Holt. He is the CEO and founder of Asset Map, which is one of the fastest growing companies in the fintech space right now. They are replacing the long research-packed reports typically prepared for clients by their FAs with a succinct visual layout to help clients better visualize their financial portfolio. In addition to founding Asset Map, Adam has also built a successful 20-year career as a financial advisor, during which time he built his wealth management firm to over $1 billion. That has a B in it. That's a B. $1 billion in assets under management. Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. Great to be here.
Yeah, Adam, it's awesome to have you, man, on the show. So I want you to tell a little bit of your story as we begin here. So we always ask the guests that are coming on, you've started a successful company, but before that, you're a financial advisor, still are, and have $1 billion under management. Can you share a little bit to the audience of your background, what got you into financial advising, what then led you to creating Asset Map? And then I'm excited to dive into this whole topic of communication and clarity of communication to your clients. But tell a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I was happy to hear more about your coaching call because I'm thinking I can learn something right here. So thanks for sharing. Yeah, my story is interesting. If my mom was listening, I think she would tell me, start at the beginning, son. She'd say, go back. You're not going to get a clear view. But I think the real interesting thing, about 20-some years ago, I decided to change careers as a 24-year-old, decided I didn't want to work for the government anymore. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And someone had convinced me I should become a financial advisor. And so I quickly got a job at a local firm. I realized I was a life insurance agent. I ran with it, and I learned to really love the life insurance business, tried to become a financial planner, got into investment management, really struggled, I think, like most people. I never had a natural market. I did not come from Philadelphia, where we are now. Didn't have parents that had network. So we were scrappy in those days. And we tried to figure it out. And I found that by doing financial planning for people and leading with advice instead of product, I got much better responses. And, fast forward, a bunch of years later, I found that I was doing a predominant amount of work in financial planning. And now that meant, using needs analysis to show you need to save this, you need to insure this. And there was great logic behind it. But gosh, I'm sure you've experienced it yourself. When you go to see a financial planner these days, you're getting inundated with a whole bunch of material. I mean, you're getting 50, 60, 80 page reports. For an advisor, that takes a lot of work to put together. And you realize, everybody's got learned ADD, right? Attention disorder on steroids, because you just need it to compete today.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have time to read this stuff. So, it lacks something that I think you guys really touch on well, which is this idea of relevance, right? It didn't really speak to the people who were receiving it. And I found I had to summarize it all the time. But so I used my artistic background. I'd always been involved in art and architecture. And so I started drawing these pictures, these pictograms almost of what was going on in people's lives. I tell them, this stuff's over here and this stuff is over there. And I found myself, guys, literally saying, you know what, this is kind of like your financial closet, right? All of us have a wardrobe at home, right? With a bunch of junk in it. And some of us, occasionally we look in there and, we really use like the same clothes all the time, right? And I look at you guys, you probably wear those clothes all the time, right?
Dude, I wear literally all the time.
Right? These are clearly your favorite
Like
jeans,
everybody
right?
knows too, the shoes. I never have a different pair of shoes on. It's always the same too.
Exactly, right? So I'm the same. I mean, all my clothes say asset map on it now because I don't want to think, right?
Right.
But the funny thing about it is that, when you think about our closet, just like our financial closet, right? Think about yourself if you're listening, right? All of us have a bunch of stuff in that closet. If you were to take all your clothes out and dump it on the bed and you had somebody there with you, you probably wouldn't put all that stuff back in the closet, right? Some of it doesn't fit. Some of it is not in fashion. It's not coming back. Honey, throw it out. It's got holes in it, okay? But because we never have anybody holding us accountable to our personal closet, because it's protected, that's our space. We never are really honest about what belongs, what doesn't belong, what's missing, what doesn't fit. And I found that if I was able to just pull out everything and what's going on in someone's financial closet, dump it on the table, and be honest about it, say, wait a minute, we're missing this. Have you thought about this? What about this? What about this doesn't? Let's get rid of this. Let's donate it and replace it with something that fits. And I found if I could do that visually, all of a sudden people's eyes lit up. And they got engaged and they became part of it. And they actually wanted to fix it. And they found they had a framework. So I used this process, which I eventually called Asset Map, to grow my own firm. And I kept it kind of as our secret sauce for many years. We started working with wealthier and wealthier clients who kept saying, I want the map. Like, forget all your reports. Just give us the map. Because I could take it home. I could talk to my kids. I could talk to my spouse, talk to my trustee, my lawyer. Use it as an estate document. It is literally a treasure map of my financial junk. And believe me, for wealthier people, it gets really complicated, right? So it's hard to keep a hand on. And then we tried it with other people that had just started the business. They're like, I need the map. And it became addictive. It was really kind of interesting. So in about 2012, I actually showed this to a couple of other advisors on a best practice share, kind of like this, right? I was sharing with my peers and saying, this is what I'm doing. And lo and behold, 20 guys said, can we use this? We're doing the same thing on a yellow pad, piece of paper. You remember those yellow legal pads you had?
Yeah.
They were drawing these things on scratch books, on the whiteboard. I said, you could do it all digitally, literally live, same screen, share the screen. We can build it together. And we have like a Lego project we're working on together. And people are like, I'll use it. And that grew from 20 advisors back in 2012 to about 4,000 advisors now around the world.
Wow.
Multiple currencies, different languages. It's becoming a thing. And it's funny to me because, and the reason I share it with such gusto is that it's amazing to me when you make things simple, when you make things consumable, it doesn't matter your level of expertise or technical acumen. You can absorb it and you can get involved in it. And that's really the challenge that I realize we're starting to solve is how do we get people engaged and taking care of themselves so they can make better decisions and actually deliver what they hired us for, which is to make better decisions. So I hope that rounds it out, but it's kind of interesting to see how this thing keeps playing out and who really is supported by it.
Yeah. No, that's
Dude, what an incredible analogy of the closet. That is incredible.
Yeah, the ability to paint the picture and kind of help someone see not only the product itself, but actually explaining the story of it. It's like, I'm just I'm engaged, man.
Yeah.
I'm like,
seriously, that's like, I want to see my closet, my financial closet right now through this. No, I think you're hitting on some, I think you're hitting on some really, really critical stuff that I think a lot of our audience suffers from, which is this: how do we communicate complex concepts, but not only complex concepts, a multitude of different dynamics that play into it, and deliver it in a way that's, one, digestible, and two, actionable. And I think that's where it falls down. And I had just shared on another podcast that Josh and I were on, that it's like, it's crazy for the consumer, because I'm a consumer and I've had a lot of financial advisors try to network with me and prospect me and all this stuff. And I've ended up going a little bit with a friend of mine, and he got me not based upon his secret investing strategy, right, or anything like that. He got me because of the relationship. Like, he got me because he was able to communicate with me and be the guy that I have a beer with and I like the Philadelphia Sixers with and all this stuff. And it's just like, being able to communicate well to clients is so critical in all aspects of lead generation and client nurturing, client follow-up, retaining that client. It's just crazy.
Oh, it's true. I love the fact you hit it right on the head, right? So, a lot of people said that we were kind of in this information age, and maybe now we're in this communication age. I happen to think that we're moving to the point of action and decision. People, like, they can communicate on their own. They can do things very quickly. They can research solutions. But I think we're seeing a couple things, especially with advice. And if there are advisors and financial professionals that are listening to this, I think it's really critical you understand that when most people have to make decisions, especially financial decisions, there's usually two problems, two barriers. One is that financial decisions tend to be complicated. Sometimes they're simple, right? Simple things like opening up a bank account. Okay. Maybe as I get into life insurance, it starts to get a little more complicated. Oh, I'm starting to make tax decisions, legal decisions, structural decisions, investing long-term. They start to get complicated, right? The other, if you would imagine this in your mind's eye, if that was the y-axis, up and down, right? So as you get further away from the center, it gets really complicated. Versus the cost of being wrong, right? As the cost of being wrong for this decision increases, I tend to want a human. So when I'm making decisions that are really complex, and there's a high cost of being wrong, I get stuck. Most people get paralyzed. And so what we've seen is that direct technology for consumers, like go and do it yourself, go buy online, do it, get a credit card, start a savings account, go to one of these automated robo-advisors, right? Those are easy to do. There's a low cost of being wrong. But once I get into a space where there's other people depending upon me, like my family, my kids, my parents, right? Dependencies, and I can't mess this up. Like, there's no one to apologize and take the blame but me. I'm going to tend to want a trusted resource. Notice I didn't say credible, okay? You just made a comment, and it's no disparagement to your friend, but people tend to want to work with people who either understand their predicament. And so the thing to take away from that, if you're in financial professional advice, is that find a way to deliver the 3 value propositions that all consumers are looking for from their advisors. You ready for it?
Yep.
Write this down if you're listening. Number 1, all customers expect, consciously or subconsciously, that you know them, you know what matters, you know what they care about, you understand what's going on in their world. Number 2, you got to prove that you know their situation. You clearly understand where they are on the map, if you will. And number 3, you got to know their options, not know one option, which is the option that I get paid at. You got to know their options, right? And then, of course, if you have a compelling argument why that one option is better, then make that option, but don't do it in absence, right? If Google only gave you one result, would it be effective? No, it wouldn't be effective. Is it effective over 10? No. It's probably not even effective over 3, okay? In fact, if there was a search engine that actually just had 3 results, I think I would use that. Okay? Give me the top 3 results, because obviously I didn't search well enough if I can't answer it in the first 3. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
So it addresses something really important. If we actually sell from the perspective of, I don't know you, I don't give a hoot about your situation, and you got one option with me, That is going to die on the vine. That's not consultative selling, or what we're tending to call advice-led sales.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a huge movement, which I think a lot of people mistake in the financial planning world or financial professional world, as everybody's got to be a financial planner now. No. Everybody has to lead with advice. Okay. Financial planning has been thrown around, unfortunately, way too much, to the point where people don't even know what it is. Is that retirement planning? Is that like family planning? Is that estate planning? What is that? No. You got to lead with advice for your niche specialty that you're focusing on. That is how you capture people. How do you prove it? You know the client, you know their situation, you know their options, and you can communicate all three coherently. In those cases, you know me, you have my trust. Now, do you have to be the most technically competent? No, but you deliver 10 times more than what most advisors actually think of delivering from an empathetic perspective. You get it? Right? Now, how, in God's name, do I prove that I know you? How do I do that? That's a tough question.
No, man, you are so hitting the nail on the head. It reminds me of Gary Vee. I don't know if you follow Gary Vee at all or not, but he's huge on this EQ, this emotional intelligence, and he thinks it's the number one skill of today and really the future. That if you don't have a really high EQ, if you don't have empathy for where that person is at that you're talking to, or understand that awareness, you're not going to be able to sell anything, let alone market to them or anything like that. And that's what we find here at ReminderMedia, our own company, is that our whole business is built upon actually not connecting you based upon your option that you're offering, the product you're offering, your service you're offering. It's based upon connecting you to that client empathetically, that, hey, you understand. I always use the analogy of my wife, that you understand, hey, Megan, she's a vegetarian. She loves to cook. She's a fitness, guru person. And then also she loves dogs and she loves animals and outdoors. I tell this to advisors, I tell this to real estate all the time, is guess what? You want to get to my wife in a way that will actually get her to have, do business with you and stuff like that. Man, talk to her about those things. All of a sudden you've drawn her in, and she's way more apt to engaging with you, listening to you, and trusting you on what you offer from your options of her situation financially or anything like that. So I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
Well, and I appreciate you sharing that about your own spouse, because it is the most intimate and closest analogies that we find are the ones that are most relatable. And it's why the closet analogy also tends to resonate with people, because we all have that stuff. Yeah. In fact, I thought it was quite funny during this whole COVID situation that we're going through now in 2020. The same actual question was asked of the pantry, right? Think about that. Right? When they told us 2-3 months ago that we may not be able to go to the supermarket, everybody went into their closet, their pantry where they keep the dry goods, and they're looking at the can and be like, hot sauce, I can't eat this 2 years old hot sauce from my Texas trip. Like, the stuff that's in there doesn't actually serve us. So I think the real opportunity is right now, especially for financial professionals, is to go in, catalog what people are already doing, reveal it back to them, and show them like, hey, you see these beans? They expired. Like, we shouldn't be eating these. Let's get rid of this and put potentially some vegan foods and some things that are going to support our immune system, right? And all these other things. If I know that about your wife, I'm going to now design that closet around what serves her, what empowers her, what makes her feel good and feels like she's on the right track. And guess what? She's going to want to do that. Now, why do I say that analogy? Because the same thing is true in finances, right? If you help people get what they want, you can have whatever you want, right? If I came into your household and I said, listen, here's what your current financial closet looks like, your financial pantry. Notice you got this going on, this going on, this going on. You've got these assets. You've got these cash flows coming in. You got these liabilities and debts associated with your house. You bought these policies from your cousin a bunch of years ago. You don't know what you bought, right? You've got these people in your lives. You got the kids. You got the dogs. And I've got that visually all in front of us. We can't hide from the truth. Number one, I prove that I know you. This is the core of Asset Map. Here's your life, and I understand it enough so that I can communicate it back to you on one page, which typically took a spreadsheet and 80 statements that are in the shredder. Okay, that those days are gone. Sorry, ADD kicked in and the squirrels are running across the street. And I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Besides, I got this Netflix show I want to watch, and you're taking too much time. So the point is that right,
it was Tiger King, man. Tiger King. They wanted to get back.
That's true, right? Yeah. I think I've watched more Netflix. Well, you guys know I do these paper projects now to keep myself from watching television. But I think the key for this for financial professionals is you got to find a way to prove that you know the client and give it back to them in a way that now helps and empowers them to recognize, yes, this guy or this gal is actually listening to me. Right? Show me that you've got the EQ you were talking about, that emotional intelligence, that empathetic approach, that you actually listen to me. That you didn't just hear, buy this product, buy my product, right? That does not work. And think about yourself. People don't want to be sold. They want to be engaged. And if they're engaged, they're going to buy.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the same thing Amazon learned, isn't it? Right? Show me all the stuff that's out there. Give me some good quality reflections on 5 stars, fast delivery. Beep.
Yep.
I can return it if I'm not happy.
Dude, it's so true. It even transcends financial services. If you think of the real estate agents out there, I think of when I bought a house a couple of years back, when they send you all the houses that, okay, you didn't like this house that they saw, so they send you the other ones, how important it is for that agent to send you houses for stuff that you're actually wanted, not just what they obviously want to give you.
Here's a list of things,
right?
In your price
because I remember, like, even my agent, and I love my agent, Brian's awesome and everything like that. But it did get frustrating when they're sending you. It's like, man,
I told him I didn't want that.
You don't even understand what I'm looking for, right? Like, I'm not like, I would never want to live over in that area, or we need 3 bedrooms, not 2, like that type of idea. So you think of, I love that actionable tip of hearing what your clients want, but then showing back to them visually, literally, that you just heard them. I think that's super applicable, that everybody can implement in their business. Financial professionals obviously using asset map and something like that. But I think that's actionable for everybody listening to this. Is like, how do you show back to your customer that you just heard them, that you just heard what they wanted, and you're showing them the stuff that they said they wanted, not what you are suggesting to them.
Yeah, it's very true. And when you think about that too, and I'm glad you brought that up, because not only is my mom a realtor, she's a top producing realtor. And I guess maybe I kind of learned some of these things from her. The validation you get when you show somebody that you listen to them, it gives them the opportunity to say, yes, you were listening, or you missed this too. And that's the part where we tend to take for granted. We think we heard. We run, go do our business and spend a bunch of effort, whether it's in real estate, looking at a bunch of houses for these buyers, or potentially the opposite for seller. Or for financial service, I think I heard what they said. They really want to focus on retirement. But when you validate it and give it back to them, you have to be honest about it, right? Plus, there's very seldom that professionals get the opportunities to actually be proactive in advice. My mom, as an example, as a realtor, she does an extraordinary fact-finding process. She finds out everything about you. She finds, for your wife, literally they would be out shopping together, and you're right, they would be connected to the point where when I knew that my realtor called, she had the house, right? I've bought many properties over the years. She just calls me, it's like, I've got a house, where to go see it? I don't spend properties. She knows what I want. She knows the parameters. She knows my expectations. She knows what my criteria is. She knows what I can afford. She knows the financing. She's prepped the entire thing. The thing is ready to sign. I walk in there. I like it. 5 minutes. Okay, that's it. You're right. You're right. This is a good call. She's like, yeah, here's all the paperwork. Want it? Done. In other words, her empathy for recognizing that I actually want more time back as a successful party. The one thing I can't buy is time.
Yeah.
Don't take my time wasting it because you didn't listen up front. And the interesting thing about whether it's Asset Map or some other validation that you're giving your client, say, hey, I listened to you. Is this correct? Is this what you're looking for? Now let me go, right? Let me go run and let me go get it done for you. Okay. I think there's a higher level expectation. If you guys think about yourself And I think it's half subliminal, right? If I want to connect because I have 5 minutes of free time, I might go to Facebook and I might look at what a couple of friends I never talked to are doing. I'll feel depressed about it. And that's good. I'll go back to my work. If I want to watch a movie, like the other night, I was like, I'm going to watch all the Avengers. And when I got the new Disney Plus, and I was like, I want to watch it in this order. I got it on demand, guys, right? On demand. I wanted this interesting vise because I'm working on a project with my kid. Right? I wanted to like glue a hexagon together. So I go on Amazon and I bought a vise that's specifically for bringing a hexagon together. Why? I don't know
who knew they created those things.
I found it in 30 seconds and I got it delivered the other day. I have this hexagon. Anybody needs a hexagon vise? I got an extra one. So, I'm sure we all have another analogy, right? We have a garage full of tools we don't use either.
Yep.
And so would give me a map of that, I would probably junk the whole thing. What's the whole point of that? We are in and conditioned for an on-demand, empathetic economy. That means Netflix knows more about your needs and wants and desires than you do. Amazon knows more about your buying habits and what you're likely to buy next than you do. How can we take something from that as professionals and say we know our customer and we know what they should be asking for next? The interesting thing I've seen, guys, about financial advice, and I think also real estate, especially for real estate investors, when you're working with investors and realtors who are always aware of properties but may not have the buyer in hand, but have built a network of investors and they know what they want. Very powerful idea about the share. Most customers, especially people who have the ability to afford stuff, they want their professionals to bring ideas to the table. They want you to call them. In other words, if you're on this line, your clients want you to pick up the phone or email or whatever you're going to use and say, listen, I was thinking about you specifically, and I was thinking we never addressed XYZ. Or I was thinking of this new technique I learned about, and I thought of you, so I thought I'd let you know. I had no idea whether you're interested, but I just couldn't help but think this would be appropriate for you. Most of the clients that I learned that I worked with who had some significant net worth, business owners, real estate owners, people dealing with complexity, they're too busy. They want and expect their advisors to bring ideas to the table. So how do you do that without feeling like a salesman every time? I'm calling you because I got this great deal on life insurance. Like, I make a great deal on life insurance, right? You just need to cover the mortgage this month. No, I got this great house that you need to buy. You know what I'm saying? We have to find a better approach. And here's one of the ways that we did it. We took an asset map. Imagine visually in your mind, a map, a visualization, stick figures in the middle of your life. You've got all your assets on it. You've got all your insurance policies on it. You got all the people and entities you care about. You got your debts, your houses, your cash flows, everything on one page. But now I'm going to sneak in there something that your peers have that you don't have. Think about that. What am I doing? Amazon did a great amount of business. In fact, increased their business many-fold because they did one thing.
Customers also
people
bought.
There you got it. You got it. People like you did what? They bought this other junk also.
Yeah.
Okay? In fact, the new thing that you're going to buy is probably twice the price of the thing that you were going to buy.
Dude, that's
right?
so good.
Who else does that? Doesn't Netflix do this? People like you who watch this dumb movie, watch this dumb movie. Okay? Next thing you know, you're 5 series deep. You don't even know what the heck you started watching it about. You are hooked. The interesting thing about that is that the recipient, the consumer, loves this. They love it. Why? Because you were thoughtful enough to say, hey, you like this chocolate? You're going to love this chocolate, right? And even though they're not, in the case of Netflix, they're not monetizing that, the same thing is true with financial advice, maybe even real estate. If people like you also bought this life insurance policy or this disability or long-term care policy, or people like you invested here just like you do, but they also did this and you don't have it, I kind of want to know about it.
Yeah.
And now I'm engaged and I want to buy, as opposed to you telling me, I need to buy this.
Yeah, that's so good.
I love that, man.
You make that distinction?
Yeah.
Well, you could tie it even into, like, you think of Netflix, they're not monetizing it. In real estate, you don't have to monetize, meaning like think of all your clients right now, and of your clients, what do they tend to do? Do they tend to remodel their kitchens? Do they tend to do stuff with their landscaping? Do they tend to need a plumber? If they just moved into the area, people who just move into an area, what do they need? And almost like calling them and just saying, hey, people who tend to move into the area, they tend to want to know what the school districts are. They tend to want to know where the local park is, or they tend to want to know like activities. I mean, there's so many ways you can go with it that it is now a touch point that makes you have a relationship, that builds that relationship, makes it stronger, and at the same time gives you an opportunity to earn more business.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Now, we had a guest on the podcast, and I can't remember the name, unfortunately. I apologize to this guest, but they even said like the phraseology of what you're saying. Like you're saying people also tend to, right? Versus when presenting options, instead of presenting your options, say, well, most people do X. And that little turn of phrase in and of itself makes them trust
I think it was
what you're offering
Shadi Bazi, I want to say.
I don't remember. But thanks for pointing that out.
Well, Ariel, the producer, is giving me a thumbs up. And Andrea wants credit too, so I'm going to give Andrea credit as
Andrea
well.
got credit. Okay, Andrea.
Oh, man, dude. There is so much gold, man. I feel like we could keep going for hours, man. You are full of knowledge. Got to ask you this. You've had now 2 successful, maybe more that I don't know about, but 2 really successful businesses. One is a super fast-growing tech company. You're super successful. When you look at the routines in your life that you have implemented, like, are there things that you do that you look back and you go, yeah, these are the routines I stick to. This is what I do, and it drives success for me. Is there anything you would share there?
That's a great question. Thanks for the accolade. Although I tend to, maybe it's mindset, frankly, and I've been so blessed, guys, to have the opportunity to feel like I'm always giving back, and somehow it keeps coming back. So I tend to live from that principle, right? Is always do the right thing by people and just keep giving twice the value, and just crush expectations. That's just the way I'm wired for it. In fact, it's hard because I also have that standard for people around me, and it takes a certain breed to be around that too. But at the same time, I did realize a bunch of years ago, there was a specific thing. We call it now the keystone habit. It's the one thing that we do every single week in our firm, no matter what. And it's around adding value to our clients' lives without being asked. And really what it is we basically commit every Tuesday morning, 5 households that are not in our normal queue or schedule get our attention. 9 o'clock in the morning, Tuesdays, 5 households on my desk in the form of an asset map, so 5 pieces of paper. And I look at their lives and I say, how can I make their life better? What can I bring to the table? What ideas can I bring to the table? And then I write it on there and I send it to them. I say, I was thinking about you. What about this idea?
Wow.
Or have you considered this? Every week. Now it creates an extraordinary amount of activity. When most people do something like this and they spend an hour investing in their existing clientele, guess what happens, guys? Do you find activity? Absolutely. If you don't find activity, do you find goodwill? Absolutely. Do you make sure that you connect with every single client over the course of a year? Yes. What do clients pick complaints? The advisor doesn't reach out to me. I never hear from them unless they want to sell me something. The point is to deliver value without being asked. That's how you stay relevant when you don't have time to talk about the dogs and the vegan stuff. You basically do meet the expectation of your client. Prove that you know me, prove that you know my situation, and you're bringing relevant options to the table, just like Amazon is doing without actually asking. And you're going to become relevant in that space, especially where financial decisions need to be made, where they're what? Complicated, and there's a high cost of being wrong. This is the space where us professionals need to live in. Real estate, thankfully, has kind of stayed. There's some complexity there for a big purchase, right? So you can add value continuously in that process.
Yeah, well, that's how you create raving fans. I mean, that's how you start to generate raving fans. In that book, we just went through that book as a management team, as a company, really, and said one of the worst things you can have is silence from your clients. Silence is the absolute worst thing. You'd almost rather hear them complain because at least you would know how to.
They're alive. Yeah.
So making sure that you're reaching out, touching your entire database over the course of the year, doing it Tuesday mornings, 9 a.m. Perfect example of being able to hear that from your clients.
That's so good. I love that. All right, man. Last question for you. This one's a little bit deeper. So
I think he's going to struggle with this. He had trouble whenever we asked him.
I'm not worried, but I'm scared.
We have had people cry. I don't think we've really.
That was me that one time.
That was Josh
Luke.
one time.
Keep bringing it up.
Yeah, that was when he emptied out his closet and he realized what was in there.
Nothing fits.
All right. So knowing what you know now, man, like what would you go back and tell that younger kid? What would you tell your younger self? Think high school. And what advice would you give?
Oh, high school you want to go back to?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. What advice would I give? Well, I definitely would say don't start a tech company. That's one thing. That's been the biggest money pit in the planet. Had to really just commit and stick with it until it finally worked. So it wasn't always a success, I'll tell you that. That was a lot of advice. A lot of people told me I should have just stayed in the advice business and just grown that business. Because it is a beautiful business for those of you that are in the financial services business. It is unlike anything else. It gives you the ability to make a difference in people's lives and have the quality of life and time back with your family or your hobbies, whatever you want to pursue. So I'm so lucky to have been part of this business. And it's one of the things that I try to be grateful all the time. What would I do differently? I probably would have run harder. I would have pushed myself harder, frankly. That might sound strange because you guys don't know me, but I was also a collegiate athlete, and I was on a rowing team in a Division I sport, and it was a really tough competitive thing, and I realized that the difference between the guys at the top of the team and not was really a choice. And I don't think I really realized that until after I had left the sport and graduated. And I realized that it was all heart. It was decisions to push oneself past all of the bull that we tell ourselves. I can't pull harder. I can't run faster. I can't. It was like, I look back and be like, I could have done it. I just didn't decide. It was one of the reasons why when I went back to do my business degree, I decided that I knew I was capable of getting straight A's, but I just never tried. But now I had to prove it. And I think the rest of my professional career, the last 20 years, has been proving it to myself. And I don't think I would have realized, and I don't think I realized that till later. If I had realized it earlier, gosh, what could have been, right?
Dude, yes.
I mean, that's the irony of of achieving something, is that you're like, oh, why didn't I realize that just 10 years earlier?
I love that.
That is so true.
Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head, man. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So much of it is just what you believe. You can always do one more.
Change your mindset, change your life.
Yeah. You can
Unfortunately, we all learned that
a little too late.
Yeah.
No, it's never too late.
On the wrong side of 30.
The Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, didn't he started at like 54 or something like that?
Yeah.
KFC.
No, I don't think he was older than that, wasn't he?
Was he older than that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he was. He was already retired from the Army. He's talking about Colonel Sanders.
I mean, that's crazy. Ed Milet, which I love. I follow Ed Milet a ton. I think he puts out great stuff. But that's been one of his philosophies. Is very similar. Is that he's always pushed himself. He calls it one more rep because he loves working out. He goes in the gym. I committed to. I would always do one more. He goes he would always do that, and so he took that to business, and obviously he's unbelievably successful.
One more call, one more email, one more connection.
Yep, so good though.
All right, well, thank you again so much for being here, Adam, on the podcast. Before we close, let people know how they can connect with you and learn more about Asset Map.
Absolutely, sure. Assetmap.com with a hyphen, so asset-map.com is our website. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or otherwise. And certainly be part of our community. If you're interested in growing, we're always doing things to try to help elevate, the bigger picture here. So, happy to connect with people that are like-minded. So, thanks, guys, for creating such a great venue and for, always helping lift everybody. That's really a cool thing. I'm happy to be part of it.
No, we really appreciate it. It's great to meet up with you and to have you here on the show. Thank you so much for listening. To dive deeper into this episode, get all the resources and links that we mentioned, you can head on over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes. While there, you can also get the video for this episode. And if you're looking for ways to support the show, there are two ways that we ask you to do that. First, head on over to iTunes, drop us a 5-star rating, leave a comment. Here is this week's featured review from Homes by Chrissy via Apple Podcast. She says, great info, 5 stars. It's a quick one. Love the podcast and the info it provides. Lots to put into practice that is practical.
Love that.
So practical practice makes perfect practitioners.
Say that 5 times fast.
I couldn't say it once, man.
Or just do it.
And the best,
just do it. One more, Josh. One more.
And the best way is to tell a friend about the podcast and share this episode. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. You can also find us. We are on Instagram at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. And man, what an incredible action item we all have. I know what all of you guys should be doing on Tuesday. On Tuesday, which our episodes release on Monday. So on Tuesday, I want you to take 5 people and look at those people and go add value to their life. Give them a phone call. Give them something where you add value to their life. Be the Amazon that Adam is talking about for these 5 people in their database. One of the things that Josh and I coach here at Reminder Media is called the 5 for 5. And it ties right in. It's connect with 5 people a day. Spend 5 minutes with 5 people each day and connect on social, text message, phone call, through email. Something to let them know, hey, I was thinking about you today and want to actually add value to your life. Remember, the difference between a top producer and a mediocre producer in every single industry Josh and I have served in is top producers take action. Take action on that today.